Dude, what's up? Riz here, back with some more NFL draft prospect rankings. Got linebackers today, corners, DB, safety, all that to get through still, and then we will be doing some team by team full 7-round mock draft, so that should be interesting. Stay tuned for all that NFL draft coverage and more. And on to the linebackers. Pretty clear number one, pretty simple. Reuben Foster, Alabama, just a beast. He's a top 5 player on my big board. Can read plays, will come up and hit you. Very good hitter, actually. And can cover. I mean, he doesn't really have too many weaknesses in his game. There's some concerns with the whole hospital thing at the combine. Not really that big of concern. And supposedly some teams that met with them say he's kind of having a hard time picking up some NFL defenses. But I think he's the guy that you can teach. He's got such a great skill set that I'm not worried about it at all. He's top 5 on my big board, and he's an excellent player. My number 2 is Haason Reddick from Temple. Could be considered edge rusher. Didn't really know right or wrong. Edge rusher or outside linebacker. That's the great thing about him. He can definitely get to the quarterback. I think, unlike a lot of the other edge rusher / linebackers, I think he's more like complete, like where he can do both very well. Like a lot of these guys I see that need to be on the line, need to be playing down, and I really like Reddick. His freak athletic ability to get to the quarterback is very impressive. He's my number 2 linebacker, can be considered edge rusher as well. Number 3 is Cunningham from Vanderbilt. He can play outside linebacker and he can play middle linebacker. He's involved in every play. He's always flying at the ball. Very good in coverage too. Surprisingly very good in coverage. For as many tackles as he gets, though, I think he might lead this whole draft class, but he misses quite a bit too. A lot of arm tackles I think he needs to work on. Saw quite a few against Tennessee, standing up too high at arm tackles, but he gets so many tackles. He's involved in every play. Every play he's involved in. So a late first, early second round guy. He's my number 3 linebacker. And a very, very close to him is my number 4, Gerard Davis from Florida. Middle linebacker, kind of controls that excellent Florida defense. And it was pretty tough back and forth between him and Cunningham. I think Cunningham could just do more with his coverage ability. I was very surprised on that and very impressed by that. So that's what moved Cunningham ahead of Davis. But Davis is very good tackler, good at reading plays. I think he's another late first, early second round guy. So really, the first 4 that I named, all 4 can go in the first round. I expect maybe 3 to go, but really all 4 can. And my number 5 linebacker is going to be Ryan Anderson from Alabama. Another guy that could be considered an edge rusher, but can play outside linebacker. And Nick Saban said he can see him in the NFL at middle linebacker. So on a big board, Ryan Anderson may be ahead of Gerard Davis or Cunningham because of the ability to play multiple positions. But it may be a rough transition. Not too rough. He's a very good player to play outside linebacker. That's why on the straight-up linebacker rankings, he is behind Cunningham and Davis. Those guys really have no chance for me to jump. For sure no chance jumping Foster. And Reddick is pretty solid at my number 2. Pretty clear there. So those are my top 5. Next in line is Raekwon McMillan from Ohio State. Hard to not have him in the top 5. Very good middle linebacker. Also good in coverage too. A guy that should definitely go second round. Very, very latest early third round, but I expect him late second round, mid second round possibly. So good player. I had a hard time not squeezing him in here. Felt bad, but that's how good this draft class is. Good player. Another guy I want to talk about, T.J. Watt. Could consider him an edge rusher or outside linebacker. Could not figure out where to squeeze him. To me, Watt is a very good, don't get me wrong, very good player, good athlete. But I'm not as high on Watt as other people. I know some people have late first round. I don't really have him anywhere near that. I say late second round. Problem with him is I found that most his sacks came from blitz packages that just really favor him. I mean, he's a smart player. He knows where to go. So, I mean, that could be all him. But it seemed like he was the one unblocked a lot. And I found that very surprising. Kind of got a free shot at the quarterback, most of his sacks, but still very good player. I'm kind of just, when I evaluate these guys, I kind of got to point out, just find weaknesses. And he did have production, but like I said, a lot came out of free shots at the quarterback for some reason is what I noticed on tape. But still, very good player. I'm hearing he could go late first. I think he's kind of raw, needs some work. So that's why I kind of have him graded as late second, unlike most people. Duke Riley from LSU, really on the rise for me. I think for most people, I think he's a third-round lock. Other guys next in line, Anthony Walker Jr. from Northwestern, Elijah Lee from Kansas State, really like him. Jalen Reeves-Maven may be talked about as an early second-rounder, but had a pretty bad injury last year, so recovering from that. He's a very good football player. Maybe some sleepers. I like Matt Milano from Boston College. I expect him in the mid-rounds. And another guy I would like to talk about, very interesting prospect, Devontae Fields from Louisville. People expected him last year to come out. If he came out last year, we'd be talking late second rounder at the very latest, and kind of off year, and he moves down. He's very interesting. I don't know where he's going to go. He can go anywhere from rounds 4 through 7, I see, because I know there's some like scouts and GMs that will really value the productivity he had 2 years ago, and they're like, well, we can work with this guy and get him back there. So I expect him rounds 5 through 6, probably 5. So very interesting prospect. Linebacker class pretty solid compared to normal. A lot of lacking guys in the middle rounds. Usually I think the middle rounds are pretty solid. So there you have it with the linebacker class. Next up will be corners, so stay tuned for that. And more mock drafts, more draft coverage coming your way. That'll do it. Goodbye.